Welcome to today's discussion. I'm diving into an incredibly important topic: the 10 toxic tactics used by a female covert narcissist once the love bombing phase is over and the devaluation stage begins. If you've ever felt trapped in a whirlwind of emotional confusion, this video is for you. The idealization and devaluation cycle is a vicious emotional rollercoaster that pulls you in with intermittent reinforcement. This cycle has a profound impact on your mind, your heart, and your spirit. It plays on your deepest emotional needs, your vulnerabilities, and your intrinsic desire for validation. It's a pattern that messes with your neurological reward systems, making you feel addicted to the narcissist's affection, even when it is only sporadic and manipulative. Now, let's talk about devaluation. At its core, devaluation is not just about belittling you, it's a projection of the narcissist's inner turmoil. The narcissist doesn't just see you as a target, they project their own negative self-image onto you. They unleash their unresolved frustrations and emotional pain onto you, using you as a punching bag for their internal struggles. It's a defense mechanism, a desperate attempt to keep others from getting too close, from seeing the rejected, discarded version of themselves that they work so hard to hide. And yet, in doing this, they are also asserting control over you, ensuring that you won't reject them first. The key here is that the narcissist is terrified of being exposed for who they truly are, so they keep you trapped in this cycle. You may think you can escape this trap, but you won't leave, not easily. The covert narcissist manipulates you into constantly proving your worth. The more you invest your time, money, energy, and emotions, the more entangled you become in their web. You believe that if you just give enough, if you prove to her that you're worthy of her love and approval, you will finally win the grand prize. That prize, in your mind, is her unconditional love and acceptance. But here's the bitter truth: the game is rigged from the start. This is a game you can never win. The more you try to solve the puzzle, the deeper you fall into her trap. In the end, you'll either be discarded like a piece of trash, or worse, you'll be psychologically dominated, your sense of self will wither away, and you'll be left in a perpetual state of confusion and self-doubt. The narcissist's grip tightens as you become increasingly obsessed with seeking her approval. You transform into a puppy dog, constantly trying to please her, always chasing after scraps of affection. You give and give, only to receive nothing in return. Over time, you'll find yourself losing the resources and strength you once had, your time, your money, your emotional well-being, all drained in the process. Sadly, psychological abuse is often overlooked, especially in the case of male victims. There's a dangerous lack of resources and support for men who are trapped in emotionally abusive relationships. This is why we need to talk about these toxic tactics, to raise awareness and help people break free from these cycles of manipulation and control. When you first meet a female covert narcissist, everything seems perfect. She will open up to you early on, sharing her most intimate secrets, her vulnerable past, and her deepest fears. It feels like you've been chosen, like you are the one person she trusts above all others. She makes you feel special, as though you're the only one she has ever confided in this way. The bond seems unique, almost magical, as though you're the person she's been waiting for her whole life. But the warm, loving persona she presents is fleeting. Once the initial phase of love bombing fades, a drastic shift occurs. Suddenly, the woman who once appeared so trusting and affectionate starts to pull away, accusing you of making her feel insecure, unsafe, or neglected. You're no longer her hero or protector. Instead, you're the villain in her story. She will blame you for not living up to the promises you made when you first met, whether it's not prioritizing her, not defending her when needed, or not keeping her happy and emotionally secure. This drastic change in behavior will be portrayed as your fault. Her disappointment in you is framed as a betrayal of trust, and the narrative she creates will make it seem as if you are the one who has failed her. The problem, according to her, is that you haven't been able to meet her ever-changing expectations. In her eyes, you're constantly falling short. Now, the onus of fixing the relationship shifts squarely onto your shoulders. You must prove that you are worthy of her affection, that you can be the person she initially believed you could be. She wants you to demonstrate that you can live up to the idealized version of yourself that you showed her at the start. If you hope to experience the good version of her again, the one that made you fall in love in the first place, you must work hard to win her back. And the stakes are high, because the fantasy future you imagine together depends entirely on your ability to meet her demands. However, the narcissist has a unique way of keeping you hooked. Just when you're starting to think you're making progress, she will throw you a few crumbs, moments of affection, a nice conversation, or brief glimpses of intimacy. These moments give you hope, making you feel like your efforts are finally paying off. But this is where the manipulation deepens. These good moments are fleeting, and just when you think you're getting somewhere, something trivial will set her off. It could be something as small as a comment you made, a word misinterpreted, or a behavior that doesn't align with her changing whims. The result? She pulls away once again, blaming you, rejecting you, and accusing you of disappointing her. No matter how hard you try, her sweetness turns sour. The affection you once enjoyed feels like a distant memory, and you're left wondering what went wrong. You find yourself in a cycle of intermittent reinforcement, where moments of validation are mixed with periods of rejection and blame. This pattern conditions you to believe that you're the problem. You start to doubt your own worth, your ability to meet her needs, and your place in the relationship. You're trained, almost unknowingly, to feel like you are flawed and incapable of ever truly satisfying her. The constant cycle of affection, followed by withdrawal, creates confusion, making you question your own value, and eventually you might come to believe that if you can't figure out what she needs, you are unworthy not just of her, but of anyone. In the end, it's a dangerous game of control, designed to keep you hooked while making you feel perpetually inadequate. The covert narcissist's tactics are subtle but powerful, and the emotional toll can be devastating. You are led to believe that the key to unlocking the happiness and love you once had is to keep trying, to keep proving yourself, even as the goalposts shift and your sense of self-worth diminishes. The covert female narcissist is a master of passive-aggressive manipulation, often turning everyday situations into a battleground. She has a unique way of fabricating conflicts out of thin air, accusing you of being in a bad mood, acting negatively, or even giving a look despite you being completely fine and unaware of any issue. She will relentlessly probe, trying to force you to confess what's wrong, even when nothing is. The more you deny, the harder she pushes, until she succeeds in provoking a reaction from you. And once you're drawn into the drama, the focus shifts entirely to your emotional response. It doesn't matter that you were originally calm or that there was no problem. She's now won the emotional game. In some cases, instead of directly accusing you of being angry, she will adopt the role of the victim, acting upset but refusing to communicate about the issue. This leaves you in a state of confusion, desperately trying to figure out what went wrong, begging for answers, and pleading for forgiveness, all without having a clear understanding of what you've done wrong. After the episode ends, you find yourself still questioning what just happened, as you were never given any real explanation. This is all part of her strategy, a way to project her negative emotions onto you, maintain control of the situation, and subtly convince you that you are the one at fault. Moreover, the covert narcissist is deeply defensive and rarely allows any space for honest dialogue. If you attempt to bring up something that's bothering you or express a concern, she will dismiss your feelings, minimize your point of view, or shut down the conversation entirely. The concept of compromise is foreign to her, and she will not be open to discussing your perspective. If she has played a role in the conflict, even if she's the one primarily responsible for it, you will never hear an apology or any form of accountability from her. And in the rare event that she does apologize, it is likely nothing more than a strategic move to shift the blame back onto you, making you feel as though you are the one who should be sorry. This toxic pattern creates a never-ending cycle of confusion and emotional exhaustion, leaving you questioning your reality and wondering how you ended up in these emotional games in the first place. Ultimately, this behavior serves to keep her in control, while you remain trapped in a dynamic where your feelings and needs are consistently disregarded, and you are left shouldering the burden of blame for issues that were never truly your fault. A female covert narcissist is a master at manipulating your emotions without a hint of remorse. She is careless, impatient, and often reckless when it comes to how your feelings are treated, especially when your pain or distress is tied to her actions. If you find yourself crying or showing vulnerability, do not expect any form of compassion or understanding from her. In fact, she will not be moved in the slightest. Her inability to empathize with your sorrow or suffering is not just a lack of sensitivity, but a calculated move to maintain control. To her, emotions are not signals of human connection, but weaknesses to be exploited. If she sees that you're emotionally vulnerable, she will remember it, and at a later time, twist your own feelings into weapons to undermine you. The most dangerous aspect of being with a female covert narcissist is that, over time, she will weaponize your past insecurities and fears against you. If, early in the relationship, you confide in her about your past traumas or personal struggles, it will be only a matter of time before these very vulnerabilities are thrown in your face during conflicts. She will use them as proof that you are flawed or broken, turning them into a justification for why you're the cause of every problem in the relationship. Instead of offering support or understanding, she will distort your emotions and make you feel as though you are at fault for everything that goes wrong. With a female covert narcissist, there is no winning. No matter how hard you try, you will never be able to satisfy her demands or resolve conflicts in a healthy way. Every conversation, every attempt at compromise, will inevitably be twisted into something wrong. For instance, consider a typical argument where you, feeling overwhelmed, decide to step away and take a walk to calm down. In her eyes, this is an act of cowardice, a refusal to face the issue. She will be angry that you ran away, and will use this as further evidence that you don't care about resolving things. But if you choose to stay and try to work through the disagreement, it will only escalate. She will accuse you of being too aggressive, domineering, or overbearing. In either scenario, you are in the wrong. In a relationship with a female covert narcissist, the emotional landscape is like a minefield. Every step you take, every word you say, is scrutinized, and nothing you do will ever be enough. The pattern is predictable. She will push you to the brink of exhaustion, only to turn your natural responses into your greatest faults, and in the end, you will be left questioning yourself, wondering if it was you who was impossible to please, when in reality it was her all along. A female covert narcissist has a unique way of making you feel inadequate, no matter how much you pour into the relationship, be it your time, money, energy, or affection. She constantly compares your relationship, and by extension you, to others, creating an invisible benchmark that feels impossible to meet. No matter how hard you try, it's never enough. You could sacrifice endlessly, yet she remains unimpressed, subtly or overtly implying that your efforts fall short. Meanwhile, her contributions to the relationship are minimal at best, but she carries herself as if she's the one holding everything together. This warped dynamic leaves you feeling unworthy and unappreciated, weighed down by the idea that the failure of the connection is entirely your fault. Her comparisons have a manipulative power that cuts deeply, making you feel as though you are the one to blame for the lack of closeness, love, and connection. This can ignite a competitive instinct within you, a desperate desire to prove yourself, to show her and yourself that you are just as good, if not better, than the imaginary others she idealizes. However, this relentless pursuit becomes a losing game. The harder you try to please her, the more it feels like you're running in quicksand, moving forward on the surface, yet sinking deeper emotionally. On top of these damaging comparisons, a female covert narcissist will often engage in grading your performance in the relationship, a tactic designed to erode your confidence even further. She might casually mention that last night you were only a 6 out of 10, or that the vacation you meticulously planned fell short of her expectations, rating it a mere 40% of what she had envisioned. Her dissatisfaction is chronic and extends to everything: how much affection you show her, the compliments you give, the effort you put into creating moments of joy, or the money you spend to make her happy. Every action is scrutinized and compared, either to other people or to an impossibly high standard, leaving you in a perpetual state of unease. This behavior turns the relationship into an exhausting tightrope walk. You feel like you're constantly on thin ice, forever bracing for the next criticism. She nitpicks your every move, constantly finding fault, and undermines your efforts as though they're barely meeting the baseline of her expectations. Even when she momentarily appears satisfied, it's short-lived. Her brief approval is inevitably followed by a fresh wave of disappointment, dragging you back into the cycle of inadequacy. For those who grew up in households with emotionally distant or overly critical parents, this pattern may feel eerily familiar. You might unconsciously fall back into the role of seeking validation, begging for scraps of approval, and working tirelessly to please someone who will never be truly satisfied. The cycle reduces you to a tryhard scrambling for validation in a game that was rigged from the start. It's a dynamic designed to keep you striving for her approval while draining you emotionally and mentally, leaving you questioning your worth and capacity to love and be loved. In the end, the covert narcissist power lies in her ability to make you feel small while appearing to be magnanimous. She thrives on your insecurities, feeds on your need to prove yourself, and keeps you trapped in a cycle of overextension and self-doubt. To break free, you must first recognize the game and its rules or lack thereof. Only then can you begin to reclaim your sense of self-worth and understand that no matter what you do, her approval was never the prize. The prize is your freedom, your confidence, and your ability to see through her manipulation and step away from the emotional trap she has so carefully constructed. Dealing with a covert narcissist can feel like being caught in a never-ending loop of confusion and self-doubt. One of the most insidious aspects of their behavior is the one-sided boundaries they establish. These boundaries are rigidly enforced when it comes to your actions, but when it comes to their own, the rules suddenly disappear. Your needs, wants, and desires are brushed off as irrelevant, unimportant, or even downright foolish. The double standards are not only frustrating, but they are also mentally exhausting. It becomes clear that these rules are never meant to foster mutual respect or understanding. They are simply a tool to control and manipulate. The narcissist will find ways to invade every corner of your life, often under the guise of concern or love. It might seem innocent at first: questions about where you've been, who you're talking to, or what you're doing with your time. But it quickly escalates into a pattern of constant surveillance. Whether it's grocery shopping, going to the gym, or even just conversing with a friend, she questions every action. This behavior is not rooted in jealousy alone, rather, it's about control. It's as if every moment of your life is hers to scrutinize and dictate. Nothing you do is ever right. You begin to feel incompetent, incapable of making any decision without her approval. You might find yourself second-guessing everything, afraid to make even the smallest move without checking in with her, all while dreading the inevitable guilt trips or silent treatments that follow. The psychological toll of this control is gradual but devastating. Over time, you start to lose confidence in yourself. You adjust your actions constantly, trying to figure out what will please her, how to avoid her criticisms. You might even start to believe that her perception of you is the truth. The mirror reflects not just your appearance, but the emotional toll of living with someone who has systematically eroded your self-worth. Slowly, the person you once were begins to fade, replaced by a hollow version of yourself, one that no longer believes they are worthy of love, happiness, or respect. You may even come to see yourself as the monster she's painted you to be. Someone incapable of doing anything right, someone who isn't good enough. The worst part is, eventually you start to believe it. This relentless cycle is not random or unpredictable. It's calculated. The covert narcissist knows exactly how to wear you down, how to twist your reality until you're questioning your very existence. And the cruel irony is that no matter how hard you try to meet their demands, no matter how much you adjust, it will never be enough. The outcome is always the same: self-doubt, self-loathing, and an identity distorted beyond recognition. It's not just emotionally draining, it's a process that leaves scars that take much longer to heal than anyone could imagine. In any unhealthy relationship, it's not uncommon for your sense of self to slowly deteriorate. Over time, you may find yourself second-guessing every decision you make. You begin to check and recheck your actions, constantly seeking validation from your partner, as if you no longer trust your own judgment. The fear of making the wrong move, and the subsequent emotional fallout, whether it be guilt trips, the silent treatment, or other forms of manipulation, becomes a constant presence. Slowly you realize you're walking on eggshells, hesitant to act without first running everything by her. This sense of self-doubt isn't a coincidence, it's a tactic that serves to erode your confidence and make you more malleable. What you might not yet understand is that no matter what you do to try to please her or make things right, the outcome will always be the same. It's a cycle, one that is incredibly predictable. The manipulation isn't random, it's deliberate. She knows exactly how to maintain control, and the longer you stay in this dynamic, the more entrenched you become in it. You'll find yourself adapting, changing your behavior, and always wondering what you're doing wrong, trying desperately to figure out how to appease her, and perhaps even how to be good enough in her eyes. But this constant self-correction only feeds the cycle of abuse, and over time, it begins to strip away the person you once were. Gradually, this endless need for approval and the emotional strain of trying to meet unreasonable expectations will take its toll. You'll look in the mirror one day, only to see a shadow of your former self worn down, broken, and unrecognizable. You may even begin to believe the distorted image she has painted of you. You'll feel like you're unraveling emotionally and mentally, like a person trapped in a never-ending storm of confusion and self-doubt. It can be disorienting, leaving you questioning your own identity, worth, and reality. The key to breaking free from this toxic dynamic lies in recognizing the abusive patterns for what they truly are. When you can clearly see the tactics at play, you'll realize that you've been reduced to a mere pawn in her game, a puppet in her world of manipulation. It's as if you've become her pet, her human subject, psychologically dominated and broken down. So, take a moment to reflect on the journey of this relationship. Think back to the beginning. Ask yourself, has she gotten better or worse over time? Has the relationship improved, or has it continued to deteriorate? Are you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually growing? Or are you shrinking, becoming less of the person you used to be? If these questions resonate with you, you're not alone. Recognizing the patterns is the first step toward reclaiming your power. Don't take my word for it, look at the evidence, and you'll see the truth for yourself. For more insights, I invite you to subscribe to my channel and explore my video on how the female covert narcissist traps you, linked right above.